Howdy guys, welcome back to another one. In today's video, we're going to put together some 12 gauge 3.5 inch quad buck. Two different ways. One will be fold crimped, the other will be roll crimped using a shadot hull. For the fold crimped, we are using a once fired Remington 3.5 inch Premier hull, and it has been deprimed, resized, and reprimed with a Shadot CX2000 primer. Both of these are very simple. The only stack height thing we need is an FS12 gas seal or the Flex Seal wad, whatever you want to call them. They are the same thing. That is what we need. That's it. Now, we are using buffer here, and for that, BPI, ITX, or BSB buffer. They are the same thing. ITX was renamed BSB. Now, for the pellets, we have 375 cal quad buck. They are powder coated, different colors. But yeah, 375 cal quad buck, not 38 cal. There's barely a difference, but the 375 cal fit in 12 gauge, actually quite a bit better than the 38 cal does, depending on hull. But anyway, guys, that's all this one is. It's a very simple shell. And for the propellant, we're using that 33.5. Quad buck is actually one of my favorite sizes of pellet. It is the biggest size you can fit in 12 gauge, and they tend to pattern pretty well, even out of moderately choked shotguns like in modified or improved modified. They do pretty well out of those, and they also do well out of a regular full, but I would not shoot these out of anything tighter than a standard full choke because they are quite big pellets. 33.5. That was easy enough. FS12 gas seal. Go ahead and get that down. A little bit of compression on your powder. Make sure that BDE powder is nice and flat and compressed well. And your wad, or in that case, gas seal, is not sideways. But we have 12 pellets of tumbled and polished and powder coated, different colors, 375 cal quadruple buckshot. These will stack by twos. We are fold crimping this one, and guys, the lead payload weight on this is 2 1/8 ounces, 2.12 exactly. With buffer, it will bring it up to a 2.2 ounce assembly. So I have 12 pellets in here as it sits right now. Once again, a 2 1/8 ounce assembly. With buffer, it'll bring it up to about 2.2, just a hair under 2 1/4. So if you use buffer, you need to use a charge for a 2 1/4 ounce assembly. Again, using BSB ITX buffer. I have one more can of the ITX branded version of it. This one is almost empty. And then from here on out, it'll just be BSB buffer. Although, again, they aren't the exact same thing. 3 scoops of the Lee 2.2 CC dipper. If I remember right, it actually requires a little bit more. And yes, I was right. Looks like it's about 3.5 scoops. Just a little bit more. That should do it right there. Alright. Yep, about 3.5 scoops, and we have the top row of pellets about halfway covered. I hope you guys can see that. Now, lastly, I have a Tyvek overshot card. Stuff that in there. This is actually just a cut up old envelope that I believe, Gary Caskey sent me these. Been using them quite a lot lately. They are literally paper thin, and they do stop the buffer from leaking out. And they don't add anything to stack height. 6-point crimp, pre-crimp. Move over here to the Rebacitor. That did its job pretty well. Could go a little bit more with it, but it's good enough to me. And just final crimp that. Awesome. And here's the crimp on that. You can see it is very even, nice and flat. We have a perfectly even top edge. If this thing is focused, crimp cannot pop back open. It looks great. And if you look closely, the pellets are ever so slightly right here, just barely dimpling that hull out. It's a good fit. Okay, so for this one, everything is pretty much the same except for we're using a 3.5 inch Shadot hull. This one is a Kent hull, but it's Shadot. It's just branded Kent. And a CX2000 primer. These actually came unprimed, but I have a CX2000 in it, effectively making it a brand new primed Shadot hull. So, 33 of BD FS12 or Flex Seal wad, gas seal, whatever you want to call them, and 12 pellets of 375 cal quad buck. I failed to mention a minute ago, if you're not using a Mylar wrap, which can be difficult to fit in here depending on hull, you sometimes will end up with a ripped up hull that can't be reused. That's just the nature of the big pellets like this. I hope you guys can see this, but those big pellets are actually already starting to bulge this hull out just a little bit. Might be a little bit hard to see. And stack height is, that's impossible to see. A little bit too tall for a fold crimp, and if you were to fold crimp this, I'd say it would badly bulge the hull out, and you'd probably have a really ugly shallow crimp. So that's why you really should go with roll crimping these in the Shadot hulls. Or if you're using this stuff right here, 26 is what I would use, 26 or 27, then there probably would be enough room to fold crimp that. That stuff takes up a lot less room than the other stuff I was using for the first one does. Anyway, we'll add 3.5 scoops of this ITX buffer here. I forgot what it was called. There's 3, and I did spill a little bit. That's okay. So I break that down in place and add our final 1/2 scoop. And that should do it right there. Alright, now overshot card of choice is up to you guys. I'm just going to use a bingo chip. I grabbed this yellow one out of the bag. Color don't really matter, but the yellow ones look alright with black. So these are 3/4 inch bingo chips, and they are very thin, so you can actually do some quite hefty payloads in 12, and these do work for 10 gauge too, by the way. But yeah, some quite hefty payloads. 2 3/4 ounces in 12 gauge and 3 ounces in 10 gauge is no problem using these bingo chips right here. However, they are so thin that if you drop these, or even some auto loaders, they can actually end up cracking these and you can lose a little bit of buffer, but I've never had that problem, but a lot of people have. And as Wade Rush says, the trick to preventing those from cracking would be to stack 2 of them together, but that can affect stack height just a little bit. You might lose a little bit of capacity or payload. Alright, so here's what we ended up with. The yellow and black does look cool together. Guys, I barely have any pressure on that overshot card whatsoever, and you can see those pellets are starting to bulge the hull out a little bit. It is not enough to cause any chambering issues, but it is kind of ugly, at least to me. But a lot of us, even, ourselves, consider shotgun shells ain't gotta look pretty as long as they shoot. It's okay. The only times I try to make mine look really nice is when I'm, on camera here. But as you guys have probably noticed, the shells we shoot at the range, some of them look pretty rough. Seeing stuff like that, a little bit of a bulged hull at the range, is not rare at all. It's just when I'm here on camera, I try to make them look nice for the camera. But anyway, guys, there is 12 gauge, 3.5 inch quad buck done 2 different ways for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, I guess that's about all I have. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month. You guys get early access to content, and every penny we get goes right back into the channel. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram, Rumble, and merch store will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.